Hey guys, it's Paradise, and if you've got an itch to scratch for a new RTS game that mixes things up, then you're going to want to hear about this one. We always love a good RTS, but haven't had many new options in recent years. But no other genre comes close to the satisfaction and intensity of a close match in a real-time strategy game. Well, Battle Aces is a new addition to this genre with some pretty interesting changes that diverts the emphasis of gameplay away from macro into a bigger focus on the intense micro and counterplays with much faster match times of between 5 and 10 minutes. We got a beta code from Uncapped Games, so we thought we would check it out and see what's up. There's even been some recent developments with the game's progression and monetization that we think people will be happy to hear as well. So drop a like below if you enjoy being kept up to date on the variety of games that we cover on the channel to keep you up to speed with all of these cool new titles. And just as a side note, I really love when games have a cool anime intro, and this one is particularly nice with the mech suits and robots. It's completely unrelated to the actual gameplay, but I do like this intro. I want to start off by talking about why this game is on a lot of RTS fans' radar, and a big part of this is the game's senior director, David Kim. If you know your RTS games, this is a name you may already know, but if not, he has an impressive legacy of working on some of the best RTS games, from the original 40k Dawn of War games, a personal favorite of mine, all the way to StarCraft 2, which is regarded as the gold standard for the genre. Well, Battle Aces is being developed by Uncapped Games and David Kim is the lead developer, meaning it's being helmed by someone who definitely knows what's needed to make a good RTS game tick. There's a lot of hope from RTS players for Battle Aces, and after 30 hours of gameplay between myself and 2six, we feel we got a good grasp of the game, even though there haven't been that many RTSs out lately for us to try. It's fun, quick, and strategic, with plenty of positives, but as with any game, especially one in development, there's a few negatives to give feedback on as well. I'll also point out though, for a closed beta, the game is running very smooth, it plays well, and has pretty good production value, with unit voices, different animations, and good performance. Now, the first major thing to point out is that while it may look simple, and it definitely is a streamlined RTS experience, the gameplay certainly maintains a very high skill ceiling that seasoned RTS players will both be able to take advantage of and also love getting stuck into. You can see there's basically no base building, no placement of resource extractors, barracks, or buildings outside of single-click resource expansions that automatically place and gather over time. This means you don't need to learn and fiddle with nearly as much macro as you would in a more traditional RTS experience. You're solely focused on the units, which will deploy instantly when clicked so there's no queuing, and advancing your tech again with a single click, which does have a timer, to get those stronger units out. So the bigger focus here is of course on microing those units around the map and during fights to push, retreat, jiggle shoot, and ultimately win the game. So it is initially much easier to jump into for a new player even to RTS games, as it doesn't have as much of a learning curve with the macro side of things and putting your base together. Instead, it's all about fielding an army. It maintains all of the intensity and fun of those massive battles that makes RTS games so good, from controlling individual parts of your army to micro who to attack, who to tank, and what to counter when playing, but also the tech side of things where you need to field stronger units to counter what your opponent might be bringing. This, coupled with very quick match timers, makes it a super engaging and intense experience, especially as you start progressing through the ranks in PvP. Which, by the way, they're adding more modes, but currently we have 1v1, 2v2, and 2 versus AI. For RTS games, the matches are fairly short at around 5 to 10 minutes, making every decision and fight count towards the win, and due to this, it's very easy to get into the game, have some fun, and start improving. But it also means the games can be very swing heavy. Early mistakes or misplays can be very hard to recover from, and it's usually easier to concede and then just try again in another match, rather than to claw your way back, as you're often on the back foot very heavily after a misplay. So it would be nice if there was some more ways to recover after early mistakes, but of course, certain plays that result in the loss of something, say a resource base, should be punished, It's very hard to balance these things, but again, once you get behind, it's very, very hard to get ahead. It does, however, of course, work both ways, so when you are ahead, you have a very strong lead. Now, the game revolves around a deck system with a bunch of units available split between Core, Foundry, and Starforged, with advanced versions of both the latter as well. Essentially, you have 2 core units available from the start, and then you can upgrade into Foundry units that consist mostly of strong ground units, or Starforge, which consists generally of strong air units with some exceptions. This is the way in which you can tech up to field stronger units to fight or counter different unit types of your enemy. There's a fundamental unit type square that's all about what counters who, consisting of small, anti-big, big, and splash, with ground and air also being present. So before matches, you need to set up your unit deck for the types of units that you want to field, meaning there's strategy in which ones to bring to give yourself sufficient coverage in anticipation of what your opponent might bring. But you also need to make sure you're synergizing units together so you can both attack, defend, and ultimately win. The unit variety is pretty good, and there's more on the horizon being developed, and I personally really like the game's art style, but it would be great to have unit breakdowns showing the stats of the units so you can compare them more easily without having to jump into a match. On top of this, end screen stats would also be great after a match, showing how much damage, kills, deaths, and so on each unit type achieved. I believe they're already working on adding unit stats in the game, so that is great news. The units, however, do bring up the game's plans to monetize itself. It's a free-to-play RTS game where you earn in-game currency by playing to unlock these new units. But when the game releases, they say on the website you can use real money to unlock units and cosmetics. The issue is, during the beta, players have strongly felt that it took far too long to unlock new units, which is never fun given these units are fundamental to not just having fun while playing, but also trying new things, to both have new play styles but also counter other unit types in the roster. Luckily, this has been addressed by David, and they are reconfiguring the way units will be unlocked, mentioning there will not be premium-only units, and the units themselves will be quicker to access via regular play. So many of the major concerns do seem to be swiftly listened to and either directly fixed or taken into consideration for the full release, which is fantastic for a game in development with potential like this. So overall, Battle Aces is offering an easy entry into the RTS genre, but has a stable baseline for even the most hardcore veterans to master. The matches are easy to jump into, with a very high skill ceiling, and it mostly revolves around direct player skill and intense micro-control over units spread across the map. It's a solid, new and fast-paced RTS experience that's definitely worth keeping an eye on and trying out, but also needs some additional adjustments to the unlock system and the presence of more detailed stats, including post-match performance, which I really hope they will implement. Ultimately, if they can keep on top of the balance of the game and adjusting the way units are unlocked, this could be a very cool game if you like RTS games or are thinking of getting into them. So tell us what you're thinking of Battle Aces and subscribe below so you can keep up to date, as we will cover Battle Aces and have more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.